heading out to set up. Just wanted to go ahead and let this be connecting. So that everyone can dial in. Okay. I know, right? Probably should have. Man, it's warm in the sun, but I tell you what, it's not that warm in the shade. Maybe I should have gotten a jacket. Oh well. It is what it is at this point. I don't want to take up any more time. Thank you if you've been waiting, Cindy. Just gonna. We had a. Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm gonna go run and grab my jacket. It's definitely a bit cooler than I expected. If you don't mind, if anyone drops in and is commenting and just kind of wants to know what's going on, will you just let them know in the chat, please? That I will be right back. I would greatly appreciate it, my love. Okay, I'll be right back. Okie dokie. All right. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Welcome. And thank you for your patience. It was a bit colder in the shade than I was expecting, so I decided to run in and grab a jacket while I was waiting for people to tune in. So thank you very, very much for your patience, and welcome. I'm still gonna just wait a few minutes just to see if anyone else wants to tune in, and hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's feeling good. You know, it's been very powerful and very interesting, especially the last few days. I know those like Christopher and Cindy that are here, you know, are aware of this in relation to what's been taking place. I'm not for sure if we've got anyone else from the group space here, but yeah, we've been experiencing some really powerful energies. Now, we experience powerful energies anyways in relation to the incoming frequencies, in relation to what is taking place on the planet right now. And yet there's also an opportunity to experience these with a bit more intensity, you know, to have an opportunity to experience our reality at a greater capacity. And so, what is coming through now in the message that is being presented through me is this reminder that how we perceive and what we choose, and those two are one and the same. You know, what we choose is what we perceive. We will choose to perceive something in a very specific way. And a lot of times this is because we believe that it is necessary. We will hold a perception. And this, the biggest one that's showing up right now is in relation to family, in relation to friends, in relation to the physical body, and in relation to spiritual beliefs. And this is showing in a way that the message coming through was reflecting a reminder that if we are choosing to hold on to beliefs or perceptions that are too tightly entwined or too entangled, or mostly entangled, if not all the way entangled, in physical manifestation, physical experiences. And you all have heard me speak into this before, but we're going to speak into it again. If everything is relegated to the physical, if that's what everything is dependent upon, if the perception and the belief is declaring that I need this in the physical, I need okay, let's speak about modalities and tools in relation to healing or spiritual evolution, if you will. We have a lot of modalities and a lot of tools that are available to us as a spiritual collective. And we step into receiving these because we perceive and we believe that it's necessary. We step into this because that is what we know. You know, as we come on this path, we are beginning to understand all that we are in ways that we never have before. We are opening and awakening and understanding and discovering, and we are gaining access to so much more of ourselves. But the question there is, how are we choosing to do so? If we're stepping into these tools and modalities from a space we don't evolve out of, then we end up remaining stuck in cycles that are dependent upon the modality or dependent upon the tool in order to experience evolution. And therefore, because it's stuck, there's actually no evolution. There is no ability to embody. But we also go into these spaces discovering, self-discovering, and learning because we want to understand, we want to know. You know, for me, as I began my journey, Reiki was one of the very first things that I stepped into. Reiki and Qigong, which gave me an opportunity to experience energies in ways that I never had, you know, that I am super grateful for. I don't know, maybe I would have understood it at the same level. I don't know for sure. I made the choice because it was there, and it was the path, that was the way my path was meant to lead. And so the choice offered me the opportunity for experience. And so with that, Qigong, Reiki, wonderful tools, wonderful modalities. They really, really assist in allowing the individual to understand how to harness energy, how to feel energy, how to experience energy, and not only how to experience it, but how to receive it, how to offer it in terms of your connection to others. You know, how to how to co-create and harness your microcosmic orbit, understanding the Dantians, you know, all of these things. These are tools and modalities. Now, the reason why I'm speaking into them in relation to tools and modalities is because there's more. Those are beautiful spaces and beautiful places to begin because they give everyone an introductory opportunity to understand. You don't have to, but if you do begin with that, it really is a beautiful place to start for those that choose it. Now, of course, like I said, you don't have to. You can begin to choose, you can choose and understand energy in a multitude of ways. Just being present with your body gives you an opportunity to understand the energy and the influx and outflux of energy of the body. We have a tendency in this realm to really, really want to have as much information, as much data. We like having certifications. We like being shown that we like having the ability to present that we are accomplished. And yes, we always like more. As a human collective, we are so used to instant gratification that if we do something and we accomplish it and we get a certification, then we can say, hey, we can do this. Come to me because I know how to provide this service. And what that is it's someone that learned information and applied modality and then taught someone else the same modality, the same information, and again and again, and pass that same teaching down from one person to the next. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work and that it's not applicable or powerful, but there's a limitation to it because energy is energy. But if we don't understand the state of being that we are in, the energy that we share with others is it's a lot more than what we realize, because when we go into these spaces of receiving certifications and modalities, and we get these, we do like multidimensional soul integration, we do Reiki, we do Qigong, we do all these forms of healing. We go on these journeys for a month or two, and we get something that shows that we completed that course. But it's not actually really complete, because we are not complete. But we have a belief that if we have a course certificate, that it is complete. And this doesn't mean that there's not a part of us that understands that we're still evolving and growing. But a lot of times, because we're seeking self-gratification in that way, we tend to overlook the truth of where we are and how we exist. The one thing I tell those in my soul pod, in my group space, is that everyone expresses from where they exist, meaning it's not just your words that I receive. It is the words, but it's not the words that I receive. It's where you exist in that moment in time as a compilation of all aspects of your egoic identity. And what speaks is the version of you, the egoic identity that you are most present within in that moment. Therefore, whatever belief, whatever perceptions of belief, whatever emotions, whatever thoughts, everything is connected through you at that moment. So the energy that you share is a compilation of mind, body, soul. How it comes through could be more heavily leaning into mind. It could be more heavily stuck in the body. It's going to present itself in the exact way that you exist based on how you choose to believe and perceive. And it's absolutely a starting point. But then we come to a space of what tends to happen is we get these things and we have these certifications, but then we keep wanting more. And because we keep wanting more, we're always in this cycle of still starting, still trying, still wanting to understand. But we're approaching the understanding from a space of modalities and not internal understanding. We don't really understand, even though we have the modality and the tool. There comes a point where once it's in your awareness, you have an opportunity to choose. Do I still want to just take in more data, more information, more certifications? Or am I ready to truly evolve from a mind, body, soul point? Which means if it's in your awareness, then you can choose it. The only reason why we don't choose things before is because we just don't know they are available. So when we hear that they're available, that's when we have an opportunity to choose. But a lot of times there will come that aspect of us that is afraid, that says, well, what if I can't? What if I don't do it right? That fear of failure steps in, but that's also an egoic identity. And so if we really want to move through a state of evolution, we move through an ability to understand our egoic identities. And of course, in the spiritual path, a lot of people don't want that. They don't want that because the one thing that they have within them is this need to know of something about everything. There's something about everything outside of themselves, right? Because there is this need to have a connection or belong to something other than the ego. It's like, I came into this because I didn't want to connect to my ego. I came into this because I didn't really, that's not interesting. kind of boring to most people. Like, I want to know about Arcturians. I want to know about, Avalonians. I want to know about the extraterrestrial. I want to know about the spiritual beings. And so there's a place of belonging that we get so entangled within and encompassed within, because we don't have that within ourselves. Our sense of belonging is lost to all the egoic identities, but because it's lost to all the egoic identities, we end up being consumed in that stuff. So on the spiritual path, we become consumed by the modalities, we can become consumed by the tools, we become consumed by the spiritual beings, and therefore we depend upon them to present the messages. We depend upon them to show us that love and compassion and light exists instead of within ourselves. We depend upon our guides. We depend upon all of these things that are outside of us, that separate us still from ourselves, because our ego has yet to recognize itself. And so all spiritual beliefs are still beliefs that are filtering through ego. Therefore, that's why we call it spiritual ego. And so what happens is we transition from one perception of ego into another perception of ego. And therefore, we're still in ego. And a lot of times, many, of course, and I don't say this from a place of judgment. I quite literally say this from a place of unconditional acceptance. We end up having an opportunity, or if we end up having an opportunity to shift into a space of embodying ego, and we don't choose that because there is a belief that ascension into higher dimensions comes through the connections of those beings, then we are remaining attached to physical, manifested, projected beliefs. So it's an opportunity to allow ourselves to be present and accept that this is a part of the process. That if we simply, and first and foremost, I'm not saying that people aren't doing shadow work, because I know there are so many people doing shadow work. But here's the thing about shadow work. It's still your shadow. So if you're attempting to do shadow work by yourself, there's so many parts of your shadow that you're never going to see. That's the whole point, because it's your shadow. You're never going to see the totality of your ego because it's your ego. Your ego will not let you see the fullness of itself. That's why a higher mirror is necessary. So getting that by judging what is ego in myself, I'm not accepting that ego isn't good or bad. Getting that by judging what ego is in myself, I'm therefore not accepting that ego isn't good or isn't. Yes, absolutely, Christopher. Yeah, so if we have this perception that ego is bad, that we need to kill the ego, that if we're spiritual, then somehow we shouldn't have ego, that on this path that we need to be focusing on the spiritual things, because if we focus on the spiritual things, somehow that's going to kill ego, or it's going to pacify ego, or somehow the ego is going to be, we're going to get rid of it. But that's, of course, not how it works. We're meant to embody ego. If we talk about embodiment, unification, the trinity of mind, body, and soul, what does that mean? Embodying mean it brings everything that we have projected out here into our physical manifested realm. We bring it back in. Our beliefs and our perceptions create a projected reality. They create a reality in which we resonate with, right? If we are in a set of beliefs that we have not reviewed. I see this as well in terms of shadow work and in terms of spiritual beliefs. A lot of times, because someone believes that they have healed something, they won't review it because they believe that they are done with it, that they've closed it out, because some aspects of it do not appear anymore. Or because they hold such heavy spiritual ego, they're not even open to accepting that what's coming through them is ego. And so therefore what happens is when you're offering your energy, maybe you're offering Reiki, right? Maybe you are doing Qigong, whatever it is. You're cycling the energy of your beliefs and your perceptions. So you're still working with energy. But here's the thing about a central channel, about your God source channel. You can be an open and clear channel, and simultaneously it still can be, I say you can be open and clear. You'll be as open and clear as you're able to bring through energy, which means even in Reiki, and this is coming from someone that went through, I as a Reiki master, I offered from that space before I began the embodiment of my ego. My energy was powerful, sure. My everything that it was powerful, but it was nothing compared to now, because I still filters of my own ego that were blocking the orbit of the energy, which means I could feel things, and I could move things, and people, I could assist and move things through people, but it would always come back up. People will always be dependent upon the Reiki, and people will always be dependent on someone providing it, which means there's not, at the core of it, what's creating that to begin with is not being addressed. There's no connection to the microcosm. And so therefore we have the modalities, we have the tools that work. But when we're talking about getting to the core of it and closing out those cycles of time, the only way to do that so that your physical, mental, emotional, and soul do not connect back in is if you embody. The only reason why you connect back in is because you have energy that's going to that line of time. It's connected. It's like a cord of energy. And so therefore, if that cord of energy isn't brought back in and embodied, then you're always going to be leaking energy to that line of time. You're always going to be leaking energy. Therefore, your cells will never be able to be whole and complete, and your own experience of your energy will never be whole and complete. So if we simply, like, let's say a lot of times people will hear these things, and this has been me as well, and I've definitely understood these next words I'm about to say a lot more clearly, especially recently. The one thing that was in my awareness a few months ago, and I was it was in, I'm pretty sure, like everyone's awareness that I was connecting to in the spiritual communities, which was the imposter syndrome. And I knew to some degree what that meant, imposter syndrome. But I didn't. It's kind of like sovereignty and unity consciousness. Thank you, Cindy. Yet it's like we hear these words and we claim them. We're like, yes, 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 I know what that is because I have all the information in my tool belt, and all the information in my tool belt tells me that I know what this is because I understand it if I have all the information. And interestingly enough, the ego is going to be the one that says, oh no, it's not just that. I really do understand it. I really have had the experience. And yet when that same egoic self responds, it's responding from a space that is regurgitating what someone else has said. It's regurgitating its understanding. It is not coming from experience. It's not coming from truth. It's coming from information and knowledge. And that ego is attempting to sheath it with this beautiful presentation of all the words in the right way, and then presenting it as a leader of understanding. You know, I'm a leader. I know these things. I know these things. And we lead from this space. We lead from this space because we have all this information at our disposal. We've shared a lot of data through the Psychic Collective. We still are. And there is so much that has been presented and shared in relation to higher density, higher dimensionality, to old earth grids. You know, we have those, the Elohim, the fallen, we have the seraphim, the ascended masters, we have all these things. And everyone believes that they know what those things are because they have access to all the information and all the knowledge. But where is that coming from? You have no clue if that came through a pure channel or if that was presented through a filter of spiritual ego. You might believe that you're receiving it in purity, but you can simply, unless you are in a state of embodiment, which means embodying ego, which is giving you all the lenses of perception so that you can see, feel, experience, and understand the infinite range, the multidimensionality of the ego, then your own perception and your own intentional understanding is coming from ego as well, which means you could want and believe that someone is intending well, and you can want and believe that someone is presenting it from a space of higher. But if you're not embodying ego, if they're not embodying ego, then ego is still the predominant leader of the channel, which means we can use words of power all we want, but it doesn't denote power. It doesn't represent power. It represents words, beliefs, and definitions. And we define things based on what we believe. We define things based on what we read. And therefore, there's so many things out there that have given all the lists of information and basically like encyclopedias of knowledge, encyclopedias of data where everyone can reference what these things are. But what ends up happening is it pulls away from the experience of self, because everyone goes from, shifting out of what they perceive 3D is, because we're still embodying ego, we're still embodying 3D. But they have this belief that if they have all this knowledge, if they have all this information, then somehow they're accessing higher dimensionality and higher density. But that's not the case. Higher dimensionality and higher density comes by depth of perception. Just because we say it's higher, not necessarily higher, it's greater depth of perception. When we can perceive all that is without judgment, when we can perceive all that is without guilt or shame, when we can perceive all that is without some belief that we belong to something higher. Now, I don't mean our God source self. We all know that we have a connection to our God source self, but even that filters through ego until everything that has been projected and creating separation and distortion is embodied. So if we allow ourselves to simply just accept these things and not try to make it sound like, or try to make points of how we're different from that, if we can accept that instead of denying that, yeah, we're a part of that. We're all a part of that. We're all coming from ego. Like every one of us, if we can't accept and express that we're still in the process of embodying ego, then that's ego right there. And I can tell you right now, I've spoken from that space. I'm sure you could probably go back and reference some lives on here where I've spoken from that space. And I openly accept that. I openly accept that because I am consistently in a state of change. I'm consistently in a state of evolution. And the one thing that shows that is the ability to speak differently. If I deliver the same message from the same groups all the time, and my message is to consistently reassure the collective of what they are, then what happens is the collective becomes codependent on reassurance. They will seek to be reassured by something other than themselves. And this is also what I've witnessed. And I've tested it on social media, where if I channel a message from a collective group of councils, people are drawn to that. They want more of that. There's like an addiction to the belonging of these beings. This doesn't mean that I don't hold connections there. I hold embodiments. But people are so in need, like there's this need to have something outside of the self, which means the choice to know the self internally, consistently, embodying ego. People are like, oh, that's boring. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that work. I don't want to practice embodiment. I want all the magic. I want to see the unicorns and the Pegasus and the ascended masters. And I want to see all the beings, and I want to see all the images, and I want to see all the things. And that is beautiful. That is amazing. But what is it serving? What is your intention? What is shifting within you? Is there really something shifting within you, or do you just believe that because you believe in it, therefore something is shifting? But is there a true paradigm shift? Are you truly accessing higher dimension, higher dimensionality, or higher density, higher dimensionality? Are you truly understanding the depths of dimensionality? Dimensionality is being able to perceive through different facets. Like when light hits a diamond and it shines a multitude of facets back, The facets of light that are being reflected back, that's multidimensionality. That's the mirror effect. So when you are reflecting through a belief, like let's say, like for my group space, this is what we do, right, guys? So when they're openly expressing, expressing an experience, expressing their perceptions, the contract is there for me to step in and reflect from the embodiment of the mirror. This way, any part of them, any aspect of them that's still in shadow can be illuminated while they are also illuminating themselves. Therefore, when they receive the mirror, they see themselves and they see the aspects of themselves that was just slightly hidden still, because ego, again, isn't going to let you see all of yourself. And so if you're openly willing to accept the mirror, then just like the facets of light reflecting off of a diamond, that's the diamond. When we are in the ability of embodying, when we are in embodiment, we are the diamond. That is the crystalline. It is the embodiment where it has an infinite array of reflective mirrors, meaning it can reflect and understand and knows. That's the all-knowing self. It understands because it has experienced all of itself, and it can continuously experience all of itself infinitely. It brings that with it into every incarnate, planetary, cosmic, universal experience. That's the embodied Akash. This is where we embody planets, because we have chosen, there is nothing else. There's no more cords that keep us harnessed and stuck in physical density, physical dimensionality. If we're not willing to change, if we're not willing to embody, and if we're not willing to choose and perceive differently, then we remain stuck. There will be a part of our soul that can never move on. It will always have to close out that karma. It simply, it doesn't mean you have to come right back straight away, but because your soul always desires completion, your soul will always come into the space where the completion has not yet been finalized, so that it can. That's what you as a being of light are doing. You are on a journey of soul, and a journey of soul means having a whole and complete soul. So anywhere your soul has been fragmented because there is something in a physical material realm that you have yet to close out. So this is why we say, and I say we because this is an embodied expression, a one voice, embodiments of myself, of all versions of myself that I have embodied thus far in this realm, as well as the embodiment of myself as a guide, the embodiment of my guides. Just speaking from that space, there is a necessity here. And it's not, doesn't mean you have, I say necessity. It's a necessity if you desire to, if you are on a pathway of higher dimensional density ascension, then the choice is always based in perception, meaning I'm choosing to see differently, I'm choosing to believe differently, I'm choosing to feel differently. And therefore, if there's any belief that a mirror reflects to you that you don't like, that right there is showing you that your perception is keeping you stuck and you're not moving energetically, and you have a cord, a line of time that is not moving either. It's not able to close out, and therefore it's going to remain cyclical through you, and that's your karma. So if there's some belief that you feel is more valuable than your own whole unified soul, then you will remain in the physical world, and that part of your soul will remain there. But that's divine. It's divine because that's your journey, that's your path, that's your choice. You have a choice in every moment, and ascension comes through awareness, not some external place that, this is something that, of course, I myself have believed, that because higher density, higher dimensionality is outside of this planet, and technically, as a cosmic, planetary, universal realm right now, we are in a certain density dimension, which means that's our experience. Therefore, other densities, other dimensions are there for those experiences. It's just like going through school. Just because those higher densities, higher dimensions exist, we don't just leap there. right? Just because we know they exist, and just because we can connect to beings that have already moved through their ascension, just because they exist in higher dimensions doesn't mean that that's just where we're going to go because we can connect to them. It's our choice. We have sovereign free will. And so we have chosen the karma so that we can cycle out of the karma. And the karma is what keeps us stuck. And that's ego. Your egoic choice is your karma, where you simply do not want to let go of something because you're so comfortable in it. And so if that's your main pull, then just because you know that these things exist, you're not just gonna go there by happenstance. Even as the planet and the cosmos and the sun ascends energetically, it's like a train that you can hop on and you can go to. But if it takes an energetic alignment, you must be in attunement with that process. If your physical density is of such a low dense degree, then there's no way you can move through the higher density, higher dimensionality process. That you if that was true, then you would be able to move in and out of fourth density, fourth dimension right now. You'd be able to pop right in and out of fifth density, fifth dimension. There's a reason why we can't. We're too dense. Our physical body, our matter, the most dense part of us cannot move. Same with the sun. And it's moving in and out of density. It's testing. It's like dipping its toes in the water. It's acclimating, bringing what it learns back into this space and expanding. And then we are receiving. And so as we co-create an anchor, just as we're getting ready to do here in a moment, where we are using the guidance system of those frequencies to attune ourselves to, we can, and again, that can be applied all day long, but the continuation of it is what continues the activation. And the only way that that is continued is if your own active awareness is aligning itself consistently. And again, most people don't want to hear that. Most people, and that's okay. I mean, I'm just placing it here so that everyone has an opportunity to step through the doorway should they ever choose. Your beliefs are not going to get you there. Your beliefs in it are not your gateway. Your frequency is. Everything is frequency. Everything is vibration. If your tone is not matching, then it will be too overwhelming. There will be something that, it simply, your body, your systems will not be able to take it. We are undergoing this acclimation process for a reason. We are undergoing embodiment, or the ability to embody, for a reason. And if the only thing that we are going to anchor into is information, I would like to ask you right now, how information going to get you to a higher density? How are your cells, how is your microcosm going to change just because you have information? Now, a lot of people will say, I can feel, well, if I believe it to be true, then I create what I believe. You're exactly right. But if that belief is egoic in density, which means it is linear, it's not ascending, it's linear, it's a parallel linear time. It can only go in one way. It can't move. So if it can only go one way and it can't move, then it can't ascend. And therefore, if it can't ascend, just because you believe it to be true and you create that parallel reality, this still doesn't mean that you'll ascend. You ascend because you're willing to embody all beliefs. This creates an infinite reality that is embodied from a set of infinite parallel existences, which means there's no part of you that exists in any parallel reality that is stuck or bound by the density and dimensionality of that egoic perception. And so if you feel that your beliefs are more valuable to you and they're not worth just even choosing to perceive differently, then that is beautiful. That is worth celebrating. Just please allow an understanding that that is also very linear. It's rigid. It can't move. If you're not willing to move in perception, then your energy can't move. And if your energy can't move, then your microcosm, your molecular can't shift. You're still very rigid energetically. And that rigidity is what we call lower density. Lower density is the observer effect, the linear. It is where we observe and we believe what we observe, or we believe something and therefore we observe what we believe, but we don't witness ourselves. Just because we observe what we believe doesn't mean we're witnessing. Witnessing, a true witness and a true mirror, is open, accepting, and shifting and changing in every moment. It is able to not only witness the mirror of another, but it is able to witness the mirror within the self in relation to the other. This means that it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's always about, what am I feeling? What am I perceiving? What am I choosing? We do not have the world that we live in by chance. We have it by choice. So everything that has been cyclical in this world, on this planet, is there because it has been chosen. We have the natural disasters because the emotional embodiment of the planet is imbalanced, because so many are in a polarity imbalance in their existence, and the planet and us are directly connected. And so we have an imbalance.
Unplug charger.
We have an imbalance of the emotional body of the planet. And many people, of course, try to fix this. They try to somehow fix the planet. And they also, this is another thing, having a belief that if I share love and I share light and I share joy, that I'm going to heal the planet. That's great, because that is, in a sense, true. But here's the other aspect of that. If that energy that you're sharing is projected emotion, and that means you have a belief of what you think love feels like, you have a belief of what you think joy is, you have a belief of what you think these emotions are. Everyone feels emotions differently. One person's joy might be peace, another person's joy might be excitement. It's going to be different depending on the person. And also, too, all emotions create a chemical release in the body. Emotions are chemical. Love is chemical. Fear is chemical. Therefore, we have a physiological response to our belief in what emotions are. We simultaneously also have an emotional body, an energetic body. Our emotional body doesn't hold identification. It's just an energy body. It gives us a range of experiences of polarity depending on what we believe. So what's happened is we have created, through our imbalance of polarities, our own polarities. There had become an imbalance in the grid system of polarities of the planet. Now, of course, these are balancing out. We have received new grid overlays, but just like everything else, they are a specific frequency. They're a specific range of frequencies. And we access those grids by embodying and ascending in our awareness. So if we really want to experience and access the new earth, we exist as the frequencies. We exist as not love, because again, love is a chemical release. Fear is a chemical release. We exist as unconditional acceptance. What most would say is unconditional love, but unconditional acceptance goes a little bit further. If I am unconditionally accepting of everyone, I accept their choices, I accept their beliefs, I honor them no matter what they choose, no matter if they choose war, no matter if they choose violence, no matter if they choose self-sacrifice, no matter what they choose, I honor their choice. Unconditional acceptance. It's not love, because again, love is a belief. But unconditional acceptance means no matter what it is accepted. That whatever is accepted and whatever another person chooses and they accept, I accept. I accept it because they chose it. They accepted it. That's beautiful. It's wonderful. And so from a space of unconditional acceptance, if we embody unconditional acceptance, we are embodying and accessing a state of neutrality, which means neutrality does not mean you don't feel. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a range of feeling. It means that you can feel everything. You feel every emotional range energetically, simultaneously, every single moment. You just don't act upon one polarity or the other. You're neutral. You are in a state of eternal peace. You exist from a space that eternally and unconditionally accepts all. That is the vibration that is emitted through the overlays of grids. That is what we say New Earth. Now, because we are still embodying the ego, because we are still in a process of acclimating and embodying, we cannot embody a new grid system until we have embodied the old grid system. We must embody our Akash. And many people go into the Akash and they get their records and they see where their choices and all the things and the past lives and all the things. But then what? What do you do with it? Well, none of that's really going to help you. And I would be willing to bet that this has probably been brought through some other cosmic channels, that the Akash is not there to be accessed in that way. It's not necessary to be accessed in that way anymore. Every moment, every now moment, you can access your Akash, but that's from understanding your choice. If you're aware of what you feel, if you're aware of what you believe, if you're aware of what you perceive, you're accessing your Akash every moment. Because in every moment, every situation, no matter what you're doing, no matter who you're communicating with, no matter where you're at, no matter what environment, how you respond and how you react, how you choose, how you perceive, and how you believe directly shows you your Akash. If you always choose based on what you perceive and believe, and those perceptions and beliefs have not shifted, then you're cycling through your lessons, you're still cycling through your karma, and therefore you're still upholding your karma, you're still creating from your karma, therefore you have not embodied your Akash or even begun to embody your Akash. Let's say you're choosing differently, you're doing, like, let's say a lot of people on their awakening journey, many are choosing differently, right? Because they have new interests. They're doing different things. They're investing in different modalities. Therefore, they're choosing, let's say, to invest their money differently than they did before. But choice is multidimensional, just as perception. Well, choice and perception are linear until you begin the process of embodiment. Then you see how multidimensional everything really is. So if you go into making a choice of investing your money, the question is why? What actually shifted? What actually changed? What perception actually shifted? Are you just doing it because you believe in the topic of discussion? Is it a change in topic that you believe in? Or is it something within yourself, about yourself, in relation to yourself, that has shifted? If the perception has shifted, then it's the perception in relation to the self and how the self chooses, how the self believes. That's where the shift comes from. It's not the physical material that is the change. It's not doing different things that is the shift. It is not anything in the physical material that is even the experience of change. That's just the manifestation. And the manifestation might still be coming from the same lesson groups. If it's still coming from ego, it's still the same energy. And that means nothing has changed. So the scenery might be different, but it doesn't mean your frequency is. And so this is why we have space. I know for my space, this is why I have the group space that I have, is for doing this right here. It's obviously for bringing through activations. I bring activations through. But the activations are harnessed because of the embodiment of ego. Now, of course, even if not, everyone will still have at least 3 days to experience the fulfillment of the energy. And yes, it's still working in your field to call, it's shaking you up on a cellular level to nudge you into perceiving differently. But again, without having a mirror to reflect your ego to you, you're still going to be hidden in shadow. And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. A lot of people do not want anyone to see them for who they really are, because they're afraid. They've placed so much judgment on themselves that they're afraid they're going to be judged. But a true mirror isn't judging. It is unconditionally accepting. And it is inviting you into unconditional acceptance. the shakeup I expressed earlier in the group, to me, it's literally flowing through you and being actively expressed. Speaking for myself, I'm recognizing wave flowing through, feet are humming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the shaking, that definitely happens. And you're right, Becca. It absolutely is the key. The shakeup comes when the ability to accept the ego is present. Your entire world is going to feel like it's changing immediately, and your entire world will begin changing immediately. You're, as soon as the ability to accept the mirror, which is not just accepting what I say, it's not accepting the words that I say, it's accepting the doorway within yourself that leads to the experience that allows you to hold the perception through you, through your experience as your truth. And therefore, when you embody ego, ego is mind, ego is body, ego is soul. It's all of it. And therefore, when you begin to embody the totality of what you have created in ways that have separated you from yourself and from others, you have more access to your light. There's no, I mean, just think about it. How can we access more light if we don't even have a full access to our own self, if we still haven't discovered ourselves, if we are not willing to look within ourselves and discover and accept all of ourself, then why would we be able to embody more light if we still are so rigid and limited internally, if we still don't even have an understanding of how our own system works? If we have a fear of even owning ego, of accepting ego, then how are we able to embody more if we have yet to accept more of ourself? And this is where I find that gap is at, is everyone wants more, but they want more of other things. They don't want more of the self, but they think if they have more of other things, then somehow they belong more to the self, and therefore they have more of the self. But they don't. They're just giving more of the self away because they're just giving into the belief. They're not self-discovering. They're just self-sacrificing. So more of the self is just going and going and going into beliefs consistently all the time. And that's our 3D reality. That's where ego separates us from ourself. And that's the way we've created it. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. It is divine. It really is. We are divine in our ability to accept that part of us as humans, not deny it. And a lot are going, I've seen, and I've been in the same space, connecting in a way where I felt that, in certain groups, I connected into those groups because they resonated. They had the same beliefs. We all believed that we were accessing 5D. We all believed that we had already, ascended through 4D. We believed that we were this, and this, and that we belonged to these groups. And you know what I'm saying? Like the beliefs and the dragon mothers and all the things. And I'm not saying that we don't. But I am saying that was self-serving in a way that was very egoic. And there was the words that I expressed were very similar to what I'm expressing now. But where they were coming from, that's the difference. So this is why I say you can receive the words and you can receive all the things. But if you're meeting on common ground of belief, if it's, yes, I resonate, yes, I agree, yes, I believe, then what's going on underneath that? Good question, Kevin. So I'm going to read this really quickly, Kevin. I'm going to answer that. Doorway into self. Just discovered massive ego judgment belief. Grateful. I'm looking forward to receiving that in the group, Christopher. Yeah, it's a dam. It's a dam. It's like beavers. We're like beavers. We take all of our beliefs and our ego and we stack it up. And because we are so used to connecting with others based on what we agree with, Because let's face it, you know, if we're going to go into a space like this or a live, we go there because we believe in something, right? We agree. And if we're gonna comment or something like that, a lot of times we want to be seen for what we know, what we agree with. We want to be presented in a way where others are going to see us in a certain way too, because it would go against all of our conditioning if we didn't show up in that way, right? So habits are subtle changes. Now, what I'm speaking into here is something that is practiced on a daily basis. The first and foremost, very first thing. Now, I don't know. Now, okay, I will say that having a mirror of self is absolutely a necessity. When you choose to bring that in is going to depend on you. A mirror of self is another one, another self, another person that has embodied, has been on this path, and has been on the path of embodiment, and holds a multitude of mirrors that can reflect back to you where your shadow aspects are coming from. That's really, really going to help. So I highly recommend that. Now, until whenever you choose that, beginning now, you can choose to be present in the now in every moment. Now, that's the very first step. Being present in the now means being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your behaviors. And this is easier said than done, I can tell you right now. And at the same time, it can also be very fun, and it can be something that leads to such curiosity of self that you don't choose to judge your own thoughts. But at the beginning, that could be a process that comes up. So when you're having a conversation with someone, as you're going to express your thoughts to them, ask yourself, what is my intention? Am I going to respond just so that I can show them what I know? Just so that I can share my opinion? Just so they can see that I know this and that I hold importance in what I know? Or if you go to react and you're not even aware of what you're going to say, but you can feel it and you begin to speak, this is usually where we speak from anger, aggression, fear. Then we're not connected to our thoughts in that moment. We're just emotionally reacting. But your thoughts actually came before the emotion. But most people are not aware of that because they're usually hyper focused on someone else. They're hyper focused on what someone else is going to say. They're hyper focused on the words. If I know what you're saying, if I know you're the words that you're speaking, then I can have an answer. And so they try to understand words, or they try to understand the intention of the words instead of internally accepting that whatever is being spoken is actually in here. It's not out there. It never has to do with what anyone else says. It has to do with what you perceive and believe in relation to what someone else is saying. Even as I'm speaking now, that you're thinking something. You have thoughts that come up. You have feelings that come up. You have maybe questions or responses, whatever it is, everything. You have dialogues that are appearing. Having an awareness of your internal dialogue allows you in the moment to access infinity. Because when you know, because you're the only one putting the thoughts there, you're the one choosing the emotions, you choose what you think, you choose what you feel, you choose what you believe. No one else does that but you. So in every moment when you can be aware, and I mean hyper aware of internally yourself, then your external simply becomes a mirror. It's just reflecting to you. It is never about anyone else. And even if, let's say, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't like being around this person because I don't like their energy. You know, they have bad energy, or someone's placed a hex on me, and someone's cursed me, and someone's sending negative energy my way. You know, that's a victimhood mentality, because they're not willing to accept that they have created their reality. That anyone that crosses your path was magnetized to you based on something that you believed, something that you perceived, some choice that you made, that you invested in. And a lot of times people perceive choice as a physical action. That's not choice. Just like experience isn't physical manifestation. Choice is perception. As I'm choosing, I'm perceiving something. I'm perceiving what I believe, and therefore I choose based on what I perceive, I believe. I choose based on what I perceive, I believe, and therefore I feel. And all of my energy is focused into that. And so if we're overly invested in certain beliefs or certain dialogues, then we become energetically consumed or cyclical in that state of being. We remain there. Now, our family holds a lot of lesson groups. Subtle changes would be, especially let's say if you're in connection with certain friends or family, if you're in connection with family, being aware of how you exchange. Choosing to implement every single day, that in every single breath, as often as you can remember, you choose to pull yourself into here. If you're getting anxious, if you're getting upset, by the time that happens, if you feel a certain way, if you feel bad, by the time that happens, you had a multitude of opportunities leading up to that moment to course correct your energy so that you didn't land in that experience. But if you do land in that experience, it's beautiful. Use that as an opportunity to alchemize and shift your energy. If you get into a spot where you're emotionally imbalanced, take a deep breath and say, why did I choose to create this? Can I perceive it differently? Why do I choose? Why do I have to choose to feel this way? Can I choose to feel differently? What perception is creating this feeling? What did I perceive? Did I perceive that she said this in this way? Why did I choose to perceive that she said this in this way, which made me feel this way in return? Why did I choose to perceive it that way? Can I choose to perceive it differently and therefore feel differently and therefore internally realize that it was never what she said or how she said it that created that experience to begin with? That wasn't the other person. I chose to perceive that she said something with a certain tone, that she had certain energy present, and therefore that energy somehow affected me, that her energy wasn't good or something, right? Challenging fear of your own and others is a big roadblock. What are some modalities that can be used? Challenging fear. Let me fill into this, Kevin. Let me make sure I'm going to address it. Challenging fear of your own and others is a big roadblock. So you mean like overcoming fear of your own and others? Is that what you're asking? Is how do you overcome that fear that you have and the fear that others project? If so, first and foremost, fear in and of itself is a choice, and it's a projection of the mind. Fear doesn't exist. Fear and love are both chemical reactions in the body. They're hormonal. As soon as you choose to believe that something is creating fear, you choose to accept that feeling in your body. This is why we have unrealized fears. We have chosen at some point to accept, to believe that something is worth fearing. However, fear doesn't actually exist. Fear is a creation of the mind. So let's look at trauma. We all have a traumatic incident. Okay, I'll share one of my own personal. Now I'm going to use it in this instance, and I'm going to show you a differentiation. Trauma can be perceived in many different ways, just like choice. If we look at trauma from a state of the situation or the event that happened, I have an ex that tried to kill me. He would beat me on a daily basis. He would beat my little fur baby. That's my child, if you will, my soulmate. And spit on me, rape me, all the things. Now, if I were choosing to perceive that as trauma, then I would perceive it through the lens of fear. And anytime the memory of that, the thought of that appeared, I would feel a certain way because I have chosen to perceive it as traumatic. It's traumatic because I have some sort of perception of fear connected to it. If I was fearful, if I was scared, if I was hurt in that moment, then that's the perception that I had in relation to that moment. Now, I can also choose, it's not the story, and it's actually not the situation, it's not the event, it's not the physical beating, it's not the mental beating. That's not actually the trauma, it's the perception. So once the event is over and we've experienced the manifestation that we created, I created that situation for myself. If I can choose to perceive it as a blessing, I had an opportunity to learn how to experience something so great that I am actually in a space now to be able to perceive it as a blessing. I don't have to choose to perceive it through fear. I can choose to perceive it as a blessing. I can choose to perceive anything as a blessing. I can choose to be grateful to have that moment to choose how I want to live and how I want to experience. If we choose to perceive anything through the lens of fear, or to even be consumed or concerned with what others are fearing, and that's another one. If we are overconsumed with what others think or what others believe or how others are, what their choices are, then we are not internally choosing for ourselves. We're externalizing ourselves. We're over here. Our focus is over here. Therefore, our energy is going there, and we'll be more apt to become emotionally entangled if we choose to believe another person's fear. This is also, we could look at what's happening in the world right now. The wars, the persecution, the rape. If we choose to be consumed by that story, we could be consumed by that story. And therefore, we could be emotionally empathetic, but also emotionally entangled in what other people are experiencing. Now, the other side of that, which is our heightened divinity, is to see it for what it is. Choice. Everyone is fulfilling a contract that they hold on a soul level. Everyone. And if we allow ourselves to accept that whatever we experience is a byproduct of our own choices, the wars, the tribal warfare, everything playing out is a byproduct of choice. What a group of people have believed has created the scenario that is playing out. It is a set of beliefs against a set of beliefs, and those beliefs come out very strongly in some very powerful ways, but they're also playing their part. Everyone here is a soul, no matter what they choose. And because of this, if we honor that, then we can have unconditional acceptance no matter what. Therefore, fear does not consume us, because we can choose and accept and honor that right now I have a choice on how I want to feel. I don't have to feel the way that I think I have to feel. I can feel differently. I can choose differently. So what are you choosing? What are you choosing? It always comes down to choice, because choice is multidimensional. What are you choosing to feel? What are you choosing to perceive? What are you choosing to believe? What are you choosing to accept within yourself? Are you choosing to accept that that's the only way that you can perceive a situation is through fear? Or can you accept that you can choose to perceive it differently? And I quite literally, when I say that I accept that what took place was a blessing, I shared the energy with you. It really is. Everything is a blessing. Everything is playing out exactly as everyone chooses, even if it's unconscious. And this is where the majority of people manifest from. Unconscious fears, unconscious, subconscious beliefs. Therefore, the reality that they manifest seems like it's not theirs, because they don't know who they are. And this is why I invite everyone to understand or step through the doorway at some point of beginning the process of embodying your ego. This is by far the one thing out of all the offerings, the everything that I provide energetically, activations, it is, everything has its own outlet of power. But I can tell you right now, the power of the activation that I'm even about to bring through is only that because of the embodied state that I access. I am accessing a multidimensionality of my soul, and not just the multidimensionality of some cosmic aspect of myself in a different dimension. No, I am an embodied state of consciousness, which means our field of consciousness is spirit. And if we are embodying the multitudes of consciousness, if we're embodying consciousness, then we are embodying spirit, but we're also embodying ego. Consciousness and all the different levels of consciousness flow through the central channel, through the God source channel, which is only accessible and clear when you're not out here filtering the lens of reality and the lens of words and the lens of everything through the different egoic beliefs. Because right now you have your God source self, your channel, and then you have this layer of ego and 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 all these layers of ego that are between your God source channel and your unified soul self, because those are all parts of your soul that are fragmented. And so because your soul becomes fragmented through egoic beliefs, that's what we call those timelines, lines of time. And so anytime you have unconscious and subconscious beliefs running, you have lines of time, parallel realities that you exist on, and you move in and out of these parallel realities. A lot of times you don't even know you're doing it. People talk about shifting realities. They become very consumed with shifting realities, wanting to go into reality that they like the most or that they like better than the one that they're in. But guess what happens to the one that you're in? It doesn't go anywhere. And so therefore, if you're more consumed with being in a better reality, but you're not creating the reality, meaning you're creating all realities. But if you're not embodying that which you have chosen or decided that you don't like, you're just going to unconsciously, subconsciously end up right back there. It's not going anywhere. So you can shift realities energetically. Anyone can give you an energetic push and you can shift realities, but then you're just going to energetically bounce right back. So if the internal application isn't in motion, then, where else can it go? It's energy. And you're the one that's keeping the energy in motion. You're the one that is creating that on a subconscious, unconscious level. So, for those in my group space, this is what we do. And it's a daily investment of allowing yourself to openly, transparently reflect your thoughts, your experiences, which allows an opportunity for myself and even others in the group to reflect. And they don't reflect what they know. And this is something we've been practicing towards, is it's a reflection of themselves internally. Like someone could be expressing an experience and they witnessed within themselves how they felt a certain way, maybe in a conversation with their parents, and they felt agitated and like they weren't heard, and all the things come up. But simultaneously, there was an opportunity in that moment for them to also realize that they were creating that experience within themselves. It wasn't the parents, it wasn't the friend, it wasn't the partner. They were feeling that way because they chose it. No one else's energy is bad and then your energy is good. It's not about they're not resonating with me. Resonance just simply means someone agrees or believes the same. So, and belief it's a projection of thoughts that has become a habitual practice. And therefore, anything that we think, if we're not consciously aware of that thought, even if it just passes through and we don't speak on it, it's still there. So we have dialogues that we end up manifesting into our reality. And so even if we don't consciously believe it, even with that, we have unconscious dialogues and beliefs that pass through that we still end up acting on. So no matter what takes place, no matter what conversation is happening, no matter who it's with, it is no one else but you. Even your subconscious doesn't even know that anyone exists but you. In your subconscious, it's just you. So, I mean, your subconscious doesn't know anyone else in this reality. Everyone else is you. And so when you speak from a space of judgment, like we're talking about this war, my mom, and I've heard I've heard other people that haven't, they feel very strongly about what's happening there. But the judgment is not placed upon the other people, it's placed upon the self. It's not, it has nothing to do with anyone else. However, those that have created those scenarios, those experiences, it's necessary. That was a necessary thing for us as a planet. And honestly, I am grateful that the wars are taking place in the way that they are. I can tell you that right now. Because if we had been on a different line of time, if we had not chosen as a collective to begin this process with our sun and ascend, those wars would have been very different, and they would have not have ended. They would have created something much more catastrophic. So right now it's tribal warfare. It's all it is. It's tribal warfare. So please, please, please celebrate, be grateful for what is, instead of holding judgment. And if you choose to send anything energetically, Cindy's subconscious of me running around. Right. And thank you, Kevin. I'm grateful for the questions that you posed, by the way. Super grateful. The whole intention of, like, with my space, the reason why we have that pod, that group space, the reason why I created it was so that everyone could not only access the activated frequencies, the incoming rays connected to our solar, our sun star, our earth star, anything and everything that is accessible to us as an ascending collective in the grids, everything that is accessible frequentially. We have actually begun in that group space the process of unifying our root chakra and our sacral chakra, beginning the unification of the chakras, where they are no longer independent and operating in independent parallel lines of time. That was probably the most powerful thing, as I'm sure every one of them can agree. It was the most powerful thing that I brought through to date because of the embodiment. It would not have been available. I could not have accessed that contract without the process of embodiment. I could not have accessed those grid points. I could not have accessed that for us as a collective group without the embodiment. So there must be a contract of embodiment that is available. Even on 1010, by the way, so I am getting ready to shift in just a moment into the activation. I also, by the way, if anyone would like to purchase the replay of the 1010 activation, the collective contract, that is still available. It will be available for about another week or two, and then I will be deleting it. So if anyone is interested, that's $66. It was about an hour and a half. Very powerful. We received the download of a new collective contract, approximately 100. It was 100 sequences of codes that are actively integrated and anchored through the DNA, actively integrated and anchored through the cells, through the microcosm. We had a very, very powerful embodiment of the overlays, the electromagnetic overlays of the grid, what people refer to as New Earth grid, but it's electromagnetic currents. So that was integrated along with a system DNA upgrade. There was a lot that came through, a lot that came through. So if anyone would like to purchase that, you can reach me on Instagram. I don't have a website. Instagram, which is AOAC _ein. I will have everything in the description, and I will also have my email in the description. You can purchase that. If you would like to split it up into 2 payments, you're more than welcome to do that. However, I will not send the link until after the second payment is made. So just letting you know. Okay, Becca, thank you, my dear. And thank you for stepping in and joining while you were able. So, okay, you guys, so we're getting ready to start the activation. I am gonna, if anyone, since we've already been on here for a little bit over an hour, if anyone would like to use the restroom, I myself am going to take a moment to do that and just get you some water. I'm gonna get me a little bit more water too. I am feeling that with this one, calling in the collective contract. Accessing. So this one I'm feeling, is really, really going to be powerfully active in relation to, this is also kind of a test for me too. This is in relation to the digestive system. There is an activation I will be bringing through, that is in relation to that, but I am going to see how this one works. And so that is a part of this collective contract. Thank you, Kevin. If you're leaving, have a beautiful day as well. And thank you for joining. So this is what I'm in what is being received. These are plasmic rays. These are incoming frequencies from what we say are our cosmic frequencies, but they're incoming. So we have fourth density, fourth dimensional frequencies that are available through our sun and are also available through our planet, but they're available through the core because, as I was speaking into, our matter, the material of the planet, the microcosm is only able to move so much in and out of our density dimensionality. So the central core of our sun, we have accessibility to different ranges of frequencies. However, everything is still, there's an influx of higher tones that assist in reconstructing and balancing. But the very first thing that is necessary is your molecular must be able to receive it. The ions must be able to receive it. So everything that's taking place and what we're going to go through in this activation is preparing your body and then the incoming receiving of the activation. So your body has to be able to receive it. If you've ever done a flush, where you've ever, maybe done a lot of grounding, or you've done a cleanse where you flushed your body to flush all the toxins out, we're going to be pulling everything out, except it's going to be a lot more powerful than if you were just doing a cleanse or it's going to be a lot more powerful than that. So please be sure you have a lot of water to drink. I can already actually feel it. Pulling down. How do you know what, my dear? How do you know what what you're able to receive? Based on, well, first and foremost, having the body able to receive help. So that's why I realized doing like the cleansing and clearing part to lead into that is necessary. So balancing, neutralizing the ions really, really helps. Now, secondary to that, the embodiment. Because embodying gives you access to knowing and feeling yourself. Embodiment being that state of really feeling and knowing yourself. So the more that you embody, the more that you have access to. And the more that awareness is active, the more that you will be accessing more of yourself. So like all the activations that you've received through here, through public or through the group space, they layer. The more that you embody yourself, the more that you have access to those layers of activated self as well. So they directly correlate. Anytime we're more consumed by a belief, right, we're projecting ourselves outward, our energy is more focused in one area. And so through embodiment, as everything is coming in here, we don't have all these, we're not split in a multitude of ways. So we can actually receive more because we have the capacity to receive more, and we have the awareness that we are receiving more. So really, what it really comes down to is that we have a capacity of self that we can always receive, but we normally are simply just split in vibration, where our awareness is over here, or we're focused on this belief over here, or we're invested in this belief over here. And so energetically, we're just simply not aware of what all's coming in. And not just that, our activated awareness is what enhances and intensifies that. So as you move through the process of embodiment, you feel more of yourself, right? You get to know more of yourself. And so therefore you have a greater access, a greater capacity of self. So I hope that that answers the question, because we all receive based on, what we can receive. And everyone receives at a different level depending on, because if a person is already super consumed and full of their own beliefs, then they're not going to feel that much. They're going to feel it, but they might not feel that much. Or I've had this happen, because this has happened with me, where I felt a lot of it. I felt it and it was powerful, like almost so powerful, so intense. But then I didn't really know, like, it was like, okay, but what do I do with it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's really happening? And so I would have access to it in the activation, but then after that, it would kind of fall away. You know what I'm saying? So it always will intensify based on our awareness and our capacity. So, okay, everyone, I'm gonna go get a little bit more water. Can you hear that? I'm going to go to the bathroom, get some water, and then we'll go through the activation. And I thank you guys for receiving everything thus far. And for those that are going to choose to stay, I thank you. I know it's definitely going to be powerful, so I'm excited, as it always is. But with this one, especially being connected to the digestive system, for those of you in my group, I'm going to see how this is also preceding our next group activation, which is going to be really, really anchored here, and also a multitude of other spaces. But I'm really interested to see how this works. So yeah, I'm gonna go do this. If anyone would like to go to the bathroom, get you some water, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for those that are here. And thank you for waiting. So, yeah, it's a big wave, and I was feeling it as I was tuning in. So I'm going to go ahead. If everyone's had an opportunity, we're going to start the activation to just allow yourself. Said if you have some water, great. If you don't, please be sure you get some and you drink some. You will definitely need a lot of water after any activation, but for sure after this one. So here we go. Just so go ahead, begin dropping in. Just allowing yourself to turn inward. Keeping that focus, keeping that internal. Remember, you're viewing, even the third eye, the true third eye is inward. It's not outward. So just allowing yourself to be inward in presence and in awareness. And calling forth the collective contract. Nose is running. And calling this into the central channel and activating. Just going to invite everyone to please declare, I accept and I receive. Just accepting that contract. The contract is one of this, it's a systems upgrade, most notably around the digestive system. Major pulling, clearing, and upgrades to the Earth Star. Of course, Soul Star obviously activating and opening. And I'm also feeling on the masculine side, on the right side, that there is some reconstruction that's happening. I can feel it right through here. There's a yeah, I feel this collective leak. Now, of course, this right now is in relation to the war. We have a lot that is being leaked in terms of the grid system. However, what this is allowing in this contract is, of course, this comes in relation to embodiment. However, even if, let's say, you're not on that path and you're just receiving the activation and you're just receiving it, and there's not really anything else that's going on that's at play, that's okay. This energy is still, it's going to be working in a way that will provide energetically an upgrade to the field. Now, of course, your choices keep this in motion. So placing an invitation here for there to be a continual awareness of what you choose, why you choose, and how you choose it. That this activation will work and serve in its greatest capacity when you are choosing from a space that is also honoring. Where your choice is honoring. It's not remaining rigid, it's honoring and accepting all things, and it is moving. It is not remaining rigid or stuck in time. Because this is a question that was dropped into my channel, and I'm going to ask this moving forward. What if someone told you or invited you, not told you, what if someone invited you to let go of your beliefs around deities and ascended masters and beings? Do you immediately have a response that says, well, I'm not going to do that. Why should I do that? Right? It's an invitation. But what if you are invited even to let go of how you use source, universe, or spirit as a reason or excuse to not choose differently. So using those aspects to keep your egoic beliefs in motion. So just simply allowing yourself to see how you felt, what came through upon receiving that question. Now, there may be for some that say, well, I don't really believe in that stuff anyways. I don't have an attachment to that. I don't, however, there's some sort of authoritative belief within you. Maybe it's in relation to something, some teachings, some belief, some system of beliefs in relation, maybe in relation to ascension. Maybe in relation to New Earth. Are you willing to shift? Are you willing to let go? Now, if you say yes, this also means choosing differently. Perceiving differently. Not just saying yes, not just claiming yes, but actually putting that yes in motion. Reku shandarara tinda shiku reketeki mario teke siakuruku aria sakambateki, opening the earth star. Ruku shitatimbaru asetimbaru atatimbaru rekatekimbaru ashikimbaru rekotekimbaru rekasekimbaru rekatekimbaru rekikinde sikimbaru rekasekimbaru rekasekimbaru rekasekimbaru, opening, opening, opening. Opening, activating. Rekutikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, rekatikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, rekupadnambak esikimbaru. Rekisikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, 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 rekusk, rekmak atikimbakaru, asikimbaru, rekasikimbaru, rekuk. Expanding and opening, expanding and opening, expanding and opening up through the root, up through the sacral, up through the solar plexus, up through the heart, up through the throat, expanding and opening up through the third eye, up through the crown, up into and through the soul star. Opening, 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 activating the soul star. Opening, 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 receiving, opening, receiving, opening, receiving, opening, 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 activating, opening, 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 activating, opening, opening, activating, receiving, 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 incoming. Inaraya Sukuria Maria Saki Maria Rekateki Mario Rek Asikimbaru, Arek Asikimbaru, Arek Asikimbaru, Arek Asikimbaru, Arek Asikimbaru, Arek Asikimbaru, Arek Uk, Arek Ask, Makud Ask, Makud At Mak Ark Ask, Marek Urk Ask, Marek Urk Ask. Opening and releasing, opening, releasing through the earth star, releasing, releasing, releasing. And so just flushing the channel, just doing a quick flush to the channel, flushing, 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 flushing. Opening and flushing through the channel. Opening, 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 expanding, flushing, 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 pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out through the earth star, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out through the earth star, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out through the earth star, pulling down from the soul star to the earth star, pulling down, pulling down, pulling down. There we go. And you may be feeling an intense magnetism pulling you down. Might even be feeling it all the way up to your butt, your root. I know I am. All the way up to the hips and into the stomach, the sacral solar plexus, just feeling intense magnetism. This is where we are being, where everything is flushing through. Still feeling it in the higher as well, but because it's flushing through, it's more intense around the lower dantian. So just using this opportunity to tuning into the lower dantian and the density. Okay. Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is that the abdomen, and of course, there's a lot that we hold in our guts, in our sacral, and we hold a lot there in terms of emotions and beliefs, and trauma, perceptions of trauma. And you should be feeling an opening. You might even be feeling some intense vibration passing through. Yo, yo. Arrakuyandaraya sakimbare, aru asakimbare, aru asakimbare, aru asakimbare, aru asakimbare, aru. Tekimbaru, aru, 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 asikimbaru, aru, asikimbaru, aru, asikimbaru, aru, asikimbaru, aru, asikimbaru, aru, asikimbaru, aru, astakimbatu, urik, asikimbaru, arik, asikimbaru, arik, wat, tak, marik, urik, wat, takimbagu. And calling up, calling up from the earth star, calling up the electric magnetic currents, calling up from the central core of the earth, calling up from the star of the earth, calling up from the earth star, calling up, and calling up the crystalline currents, calling up to the earth star, incoming up from the earth star. Araku atakimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak asikimbaru, rakutuku chikimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak. Incoming, expanding. Aru ashikimbaru, ruku, ashikimbaru, ruku, ashikimbaru, ruku, ashikimbaru, ruku, expanding, and beginning microcosmic orbit. Arak utakimbaru, arak atakimbaru, arak utakimbaru, arak utakimbaru, arak utakimbaru, arak utakimbaru, in the kimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak asikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak osikimbaru, arak osikimbaru. And calling in from the etheric crystalline compounds anchoring into the earth star, beginning the opening of the grid. Calling in crystalline compounds, opening, expanding around, and creating the grid around the soul star. Activating the collective grid, connecting into through the heart, expanding out. Indaru shikimbaru arak ate ushandari ushapari ari asikimbarara. Indare sikimbarara uruk ushikimbarara usikimbarara atekimbarara ruk utekimbarara isikimbarara tukumbarara isikimbarara tuku. Expanding out, encompassing the physical body, encompassing the mental body, encompassing the emotional body, encompassing the spiritual body, encompassing the soul, encompassing all layers of the auric and anchoring into the etheric.
barara urku sikim barara indi miki indi barara ikindi marara urku shikim barara indiki marara itikim marara isikim barara urku shikim barara itikim barara amak urik asikim barara arik amak indikim marara isikim barara atak mari atikim marara isikim barara urku. And calling in crystalline compounds from the etheric, anchoring into the crown, anchoring into the third eye, anchoring into the throat, anchoring into the heart, anchoring into the solar plexus, anchoring into the sacral, anchoring into the root, and expanding. And upon this expansion, ashatanani asaki, coming into the microcosm, Indararina Maria Tokoria Matik Maria Tik Maria Tik Maria Tiki Maria Tiki Maria Tiki Maria Tiki Maria Tiki Ruk tuk 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 tuk. Coming into the nucleus, activating, opening, activating, opening, activating, opening, activating, opening, opening, opening the nucleus, activating, opening, activating, opening, opening. And expanding. And from this open, activated spot, opening and activating each nucleus, opening and activating each of the blood platelets, opening and activating the central nervous system, opening and activating all blood systems, all nerve systems of the body, opening, activating, opening, 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 activating, Keri asku atik mak atik erik atik matik urik atik erik merek urik tuk 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 urik tuk ya 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 opening 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 and clearing. So we're clearing the debris, clearing all debris from the blood, clearing all debris from the nervous system, clearing all debris, calling it out through the earth star, calling all debris out through the earth star, calling it out, calling it out, calling it out, calling it out, flushing it through the earth star, flushing it out, flushing all systems of the body, flushing all systems of the body, flushing all systems of the body, clearing and cleansing, flushing all systems of the body, cleansing, 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 cleansing and clearing all systems of the body. And pulling it out and down. Okay. All ions are neutralizing. Neutralizing all ions, releasing any molecular excess of capacity, releasing all excess in the molecular, releasing all excess. Releasing all excess through the earth star. And as this is happening, increasing magnetism incoming from the soul star, calling it in, and activating incoming magnetic waves, activating, increasing activation. calling it in, calling it in, calling it in, calling it in, and bringing in, activating magnetic currents, activating, incoming, activating, incoming, activating, incoming, activating. Incoming, activating the magnetism, activating the magnetism of the ions. And coming in from the Earth star, activating, incoming magnetic currents, incoming, activating magnetic currents, incoming magnetic currents, incoming, activating, calling it in, and all molecules activating, and activating all magnetic currents, increasing magnetism. Increasing, activating all ions through the blood, activating all ions through the nervous system, activating all ions through the chakras. All organs that are connected to the chakras. Activating and calling in the electric currents. And coming in, activating electrical currents, activating electrical currents, activating electrical currents, activating, increasing electrical currents flowing through. And you're probably going to begin to feel a bit of intensity now. And increasing electrical currents once more. And increasing through the spine, increasing and opening through the spine, increasing and opening through the spine. And opening, expanding, opening and expanding the spine, opening and expanding the spine, opening and expanding the spine, opening, expanding the spine. Expanding the spine. Expanding, and just take a deep breath. You might have felt your spine pop a little bit. And now, calling in the divine rays, calling in cosmic rays, and let's see what rays and what activated compounds. What cosmic currents are available to assist. We have Arcturian. Now, again, you guys have heard me speak about not getting too attached or overly belonging. Remember, these are frequencies. These are incoming frequencies from that system. And calling these frequencies in through the central channel, Tarurea Siki Marura Kinari Siantini Maria Kuriataki Mariataki 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 Yandari Maria Siki Mariataki Mariataki Korikataki Mariataki Mariataki Rukataki Mariataki 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 Maki Mariataki 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 Ru Antaka Mariataku. And incoming through the sun star, through the soul star, incoming, 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 anchoring into and through the earth star, expanding out, creating a spherical grid around all layers of the auric etheric. Indaru shakori asikimbaru arak asikimbaru arak asikimbaru arak asikimbaru arak asikimbaru arak asikimbaru rko shikimbaru arak asikimbaru 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 arku ashikindari indari sikimbaru arak asikimbaru arku ashikimbaru arak asikimbaru arku. And now we actively co-create with these Arcturian frequencies. Now, the frequencies of Arcturus, these are simply frequencies, the sequencing of the frequencies, the oscillation working directly with us, co-creating with us as these frequencies always are, incoming through the central channel, expanding out, anchoring into the digestive system. Now calling in crystalline compounds to create a spherical geometric grid into and through all aspects of the digestive system, anchoring into the stomach, anchoring into the colon, anchoring into the large intestine, anchoring into the small intestine, anchoring into the gallbladder, anchoring into the pancreas. Also anchoring into the thyroid. Kimbarara atik imbarara orak osik imbarara andak imbarara atuk imbarara itik imbarara orku atik imbarara. Now activating polarities, activating the neutral polarities, activating, tikimbarara, isikimbarara, tikimbarara, isikimbarara, tikimbarara. And activating the digestive system, activating and increasing the magnetic currents of the digestive system, activating and increasing, and releasing, clearing and releasing, clearing and releasing, clearing and releasing, clearing and releasing. Simultaneously activating, upgrading the digestive system, activating, upgrading, upgrading the thyroid, activating, increasing magnetic currents to the thyroid. And this might feel a bit intense. Activating, increasing, and calling in increasing magnetic currents, calling in increasing magnetic currents, calling in increasing magnetic currents. Calling in increasing magnetic currents to the gallbladder, and clearing, releasing any energetic debris from the gallbladder, releasing any energetic debris from the thyroid, releasing any energetic debris from the digestive system, releasing any energetic debris from the pancreas, activating the pancreas, activating. And releasing. Releasing all energetic debris through the earth star. And balancing all ions once more.
and calling in another wave through the soul star, calling in, calling in, calling in, calling in Arcturus energy, calling in, calling in, calling in, calling in, calling in, expanding, expanding and activating, expanding and activating, expanding and activating, activating thyroid. These are frequencies that are always available and incoming through our sun, the central gateway. These are simply currents. They are always passing through. And activating, activating, activating through the thyroid, activating, activating, activating through the pancreas, activating, activating, activating through the gallbladder, activating through the stomach, activating through the small intestine, activating through the large intestine, activating the colon, and activating, and calling in, and anchoring, calling in and anchoring, calling in and anchoring and expanding. Whew, felt nauseous all of it. Whew, yeah, feeling nauseous. Balancing the hormones. Hormones are balanced. Nervous system is balanced. Nervous system is balanced. Nervous system is balanced. Nervous system is balanced. Increasing magnetic currents through these systems, increasing and oscillating between the crystalline compounds. Oscillating, oscillating, oscillating. Oscillating, oscillating, balancing and opening, increasing this is the intention with this digestive system and with all systems. They are being upgraded. They are oscillating energy all the time. This is increasing our capacity to basically rejuvenate off of our own embodied light, our embodiment. So this is why the more that you embody all aspects of you in terms of ego, you have access to so much more energy. The intention is to use this energy, to use these currents as an active source of life-giving, life feeding. So offering the intention, placing the intention here for those that have the availability to step into it and access it, that this activation is working along with the embodiment of ego. And even with those that are not embodying ego, just placing the intention here that the digestive system has the capacity to work at a higher octave, if you will, a higher regenerative state. So the thyroid, so all energy, the more that we embody, the more that we have access to our energy consistently moving. It's not stuck in a system of belief. It's actually operating consistently, energetically. And also too, the more that we embody our ego, once we are complete embodying our ego, even when we get to a capacity of embodying ego, then we begin embodying our cosmic energies, our cosmic layers. Now this just simply means the capacity to harness more frequencies. Opening, so opening the throat, opening, expanding, and activating the throat, opening, expanding, activating the third eye, opening, expanding, activating the crown, opening. Rikutikimbarara, isikimbarara, rikusikimbarara, adnendi, atikundara, isikimbarara, rikusikimbarara, rikasikimbarara, ishikindarare, inimatik imbarara, asikurk, and shikindarara, marak, usikindarara, atik imbaruk, ushiki. Now just take a deep breath, really feeling everything just active in that system, feeling so light and beautiful, feels so good energetically. So feeding in light, activating the system with light, and feeding light into the system, feeding light into the system. And so feeding light coming in from the Earth Star, bringing up all plasmic currents, bringing in all currents of light, feeding the system with light, feeding the system with magnetic waves, feeding the system with magnetic waves, feeding the system with magnetic waves. And then coming into the soul star, feeding the system with the electrical currents, feeding it, bringing it in, feeding the systems with electrical currents. And the systems are receiving and feeding on the electrical magnetic currents. This is the intention. All systems, all blood platelets, all nervous systems, all systems. Ooh, that's intense. All systems are feeding on the electrical magnetic currents. All systems are feeding and receiving, regenerating. All systems are regenerating. All systems are regenerating. All systems are regenerating. Immune system is active, activating the immune system. The immune system is regenerating within the electrical magnetic currents. The immune system consistently active and regenerating. All systems active and regenerating through these electrical magnetic currents, within these electrical magnetic currents. Man, that was intense. Everything just sucked in and flowed. Feeling all systems, just how everything just sucked in. Everything came into the blood, everything came into the nervous system, and just feeling, experiencing, seeing all the different currents flowing through. All systems are active and operating regeneratively. On a molecular level, the molecules are able to openly and actively communicate. Riku is setting the intention that electrons are able to openly ionize, neutralize intentionally within these electric magnetic currents. That is the power of these electric magnetic currents. When you step into these activations and you're receiving, through my own contract, the contract that I hold within my state of embodiment, and the channeling of this, the receiving of this through your vessel, through the receiving of this contract, you're able to receive ionization. So this would be like going in and grounding for an hour or greater. So what is happening here is that the ions are able to easily and continuously not only free form in terms of they can move and regenerate, and there is no set or rigid way of the molecules. So we have like negatively ionized hydrogen, right? It's like a nuclear power plant of a body. Now just taking a deep breath. I'm going to come in with one more wave. And calling in crystalline compounds, creating grids around each person receiving, creating the geometric grid that is contracted to the soul. Marak asikindara, Rikoshikindara, Marik asikindara. And anchoring. Rikoyandarshate is uru atu ash. Takesu tu shukur kushite imba ashu. Rakashu. Arkush ashu. Arkusha andare inde irush andara matageshu. Rakatiki mario rekashendu. Arku shandara matakesu. Arku ashateteti mariatakeru. Arku ashandaru shindini madareru. Asaktiki maru sakindareru. Asate marara shindiri atakoria marare siki marara indiru arak asaki marara e shindiri mariataki sukurkataki marara e shukurak marak asaki marara ataki marara shure mariasaki marara endu ashiki marara asaki marara arku ashiki marara e sukurmbariasaki sukurku kurku Induriyo shikimbara e suku, anchoring into the heart. Araku, ashikindara, inni marara, esiki marara, e rek asik tik 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 Shataku. Anchoring in the heart. And here comes the wave. Anchoring, incoming, anchoring into the heart, expanding outwards, anchoring to the soul star, expanding outwards, anchoring to the earth star, expanding outwards. And here comes the orbit.
Arku, 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 yandarini asaku. Beginning the orbit, beginning the orbit, beginning the orbit. Arku, yo, 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 yo. I'm actually magnetic currents are pushing me to the side. Arku, yo, 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 yo. Daru shakuru. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 so there we go. So each of the grids, each of you have a grid that was there. And so you might have felt that rotation. You're probably still feeling rotation where your body is wanting to move a certain direction, or you're just feeling the energy internally, or however it is appearing in relation to these grids and how the energy is rotating. It almost feels like my body is trying to turn two different directions at once. This is the masculine and feminine, the cosmic rotation, and everything is rotating, everything is moving, everything is unifying. Indiri Maria Urku, Shikindari Matiki Mara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Atakimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Urku, yo 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 Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Shikimbara Urku, Urku, yo 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 Watakumbara Oshukumbara Arku. Now, each of these waves activating and layering, and there it comes up through that central portion, up through the activated, up through the activated digestive system. Coming up, it's coming up, it's moving up, it's coming up, it's moving up. And so that is active. And now with this active digestive system, Louise, I'm so grateful to see you here, my dear, since of the hurricane. I'm so grateful to see you. And it actually feels very much that way with this energy just spinning, just rotating, just moving, everything unifying. Now, what is taking place with this in relation to the digestive system, in relation to the activated digestive system, man, it just feels like burning so much energy right now. So, going to actively integrate some imprints. Ark ashik indak ark ashik indak ark at indak ark mark ark ashik indak mark ashik indak mark ashik indak mark ashik ashik indak mark ashik indak mark ashik Rush Arkash and Markush Arku Rakash Urku Rakush in the Arkmark Urkash in the Mark Urkash Marku and Mark Arku Arkmarku Ashk Marku Ashk Marku. Now those imprints. My stomach is burning. Those imprints are like channels for the energy. And these are imprints of light, so carrying the intention to use the embodied self, the embodied light, as the fuel. So I will say, those of you in my group space, this is correlating, of course, to what we have been applying in relation to our fasting. I will say that what I'm receiving, that moving forward, this is going to give us an opportunity, should we so choose, to use these imprints in replace of foodstuffs. So calibrating and attuning, calibrating those imprints, calibrating, neutralizing, balancing, and actively so activating the electrical magnetic currents, activating. Activating magnetic currents, activating magnetic currents to the imprints, activating. And activating electrical currents. Activating. This will be the final wave. Activating. Indaria sukurtuku ashik tikimbaru aseru arku atikimbaru asik indaru arku ashikindari arikandari urku ashikindari arku ashikindari mark urk ashikindari marku ashikindari arku ashikindari marku ashikindari marku tikimarara isikimbarara arku ashikimbarara arru ashikindara marru ashikindara marku. And just activating and increasing the activated currents incoming through the Earth star, incoming through the Soul star, activating, increasing, anchored in the Earth star, activating, increasing through the Soul star, activating, increasing, anchored in the Soul star. Darara shindiri maru asikimbarara reku ashikimbarara reku ashikimbarara reku ashikimbarara reku, increasing electrical currents aru asikimbarara reku ashikimbarara, and activating all systems, activating anchored, expanding, and darara shikimbarara reku so all is expanding. Aru ashikimbara asikimbara araku shikimbara isikimbara nashikindara araku ashikimbara in oru ashikimbara and shikimbara. And yeah, that's beautiful. That's extremely powerful. The magnetic is going so much. It's going beyond the length of my arms. It's holding my arms up right now. In the shikimbara urku shinkindari isikimbara urku shikimbara urku. So just allowing yourself to feel the magnetism of yourself. It's like I'm holding my arms up, but the magnetism is also holding my arms up. There's not as much weight. So, just taking a deep breath. All is active. All is complete. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you all for receiving. I know this was a long one today, but much necessary, much needed, and always, and always. The discussion at the beginning, very necessary and needed, of course. So much there. So much activation came through in that. So much activation came through here in this. Thank you so much for receiving. So what is here? Let's see what is here. What is here in relation to this activation? Is there anything necessary? Still magnetic wave, still moving here. Now these waves will continue for some time. They will probably continue for about 2 hours, approximately 2 hours. Let me clear that off. Oh, it's 4:44 my time. Yeah, 4:44. That's amazing. So, approximately for the next 2 hours, depending on your awareness and depending on how active you are in your awareness, you might notice these waves. They're not going to be super intense, but they will be passing through. And anytime if you feel that the energy is in one area more than the other, use your awareness, use your intention. Actively move the energy, allowing yourself to be active and collaborating and co-creating, allowing yourself to, pull that energy and move that energy. So just wanting to open and clear a little bit more there. So this is working, of course, in relation to the digestive system. We've been doing some fasting and intermittent fasting in my group. That's really been assisting. So if you have an opportunity or if you would like to, I am feeling that would really assist in supporting this activation, is doing some intermittent fasting, or just doing all the way fasting. There is
There's really nothing necessary other than just allowing your digestive system to really receive this. So I definitely really would recommend fasting or intermittent fasting. I would definitely recommend fasting for the rest of the day, just drinking water. If you absolutely, let's say maybe you haven't eaten that much and this was burning a lot of calories energetically, at least I know it does for me channeling it. I always expend a lot of energy. So if you need anything, I would definitely just take in some fruit or maybe like a smoothie or something. That way your digestive system isn't having to work to break down a lot of food. So a smoothie would be great, would be fantastic. So and of course you don't eat fruit too late because your system is also um active. It's very active because there's a lot of nutrients. So it would actually really increase your energy. So, just allowing a smoothie maybe, depending on what time it is for you, would be great. So, yes, riding the waves. Yes, yes, yes. So many waves. And there was so much that okay, so energetically, there was a lot of movement. I mean, I quite literally the magnetism, it pushed me to this side and then it pushed me to this side. And then it lifted my arms up. So there was a lot of energetic magnetic movement. Um there are magnetic polarity because of at the beginning there was a polarity neutral like a neutralism that came in, and also too um what I'm receiving is through the activation of the system, the digestive system. I'm just feeling so much was actively cleared and able to be moved, and simultaneously as a part of the way that the magnetic waves operate, they're just moving all the time. That was really powerful though in that orbit, that movement. So yeah, I'm just hearing polarity. I'm hearing polarity shift. And that's also masculine and feminine. There was a polarity shift. There was a greater unification there, magnetic currents, electric magnetic currents. And even upon speaking of that, um, yeah, even upon speaking of that, I feel it. Just raising my arms. Then you said out loud, your arms are, yes, yes, beautiful Cindy. Yes, 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 absolutely. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Absolutely loving it. There, yeah. Just feeling another one coming in. And there it comes. And yep, it's coming in. And expanding. There we go. Whew, that was another big one. And that one I'm feeling as it's coming in. It's really, really powerful, not only through the crown, but through the spine. Actually, I'm just feeling it everywhere. Feeling super intense, like intense magnetism in that internally, everything. Yeah, just super, super, super. The digestive system with this activation is able to is quite literally able to feed on, use, and expend so much more electrical magnetic energy. And so that's a very, very powerful thing. Um, this is the first time I've activated and applied it in this way. So I'm really interested to see how this continues moving forward. I'm really, really excited for that. So thank you all for receiving. Just allowing yourself, allowing your body. So let's see. Now, when we just went through the something similar, but definitely I do feel way more powerful in the group space. It was very similar to this, and it was about a day or two where we were just, there was a lot, our bodies were just feeling it. There was a lot coming out. I am feeling in relation to this one that's going to be very similar. So for probably tomorrow, you guys might feel a little bit exhausted. You might even begin to feel it later on today. This is where your body, there's so much that's being, there had so much that's been cleared and cleansed from your digestive system. And there's so much energy, so much debris that has been cleared and cleansed from your energy systems. And so you may feel it. Even now, I'm feeling, even internally, even upon speaking into that, I'm feeling it internally. So please, please, please allow your body the rest. Please stay hydrated. And again, if you can, and I know everyone can, but the choice is here and it's available for everyone to do some fasting. Please, 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 I would highly recommend that with this activation. Other than that, thank you for receiving. Thank you so very much for being here again. I know this was a long one, but for those that hung in here the entire time, I am so super grateful to you and for you for receiving this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I simply cannot wait. For those that are in my group space, if you feel like dropping anything in there, reflecting, I would love to hear, kind of how this was applied. Especially since it's going to be intensified for our group activation. So I would love to hear how this was received through each of you. If anyone else would like to just give me some feedback, you can drop it in the comments, or you can send me a message on Instagram. You can send me an email. Again, I will have that information in the description. So as we close, again, if anyone would like the replay of the 1010 activation, please reach out. It's very, very powerful. Anything that is an investment of energy in that way will hold greater power, simply because you are investing in yourself energetically. You are agreeing to that contract in that way, and therefore there is a greater capacity of the contract I'm able to bring through. So if you would like to receive that replay, it is $66. And again, super powerful. I will have it up. I will have it up for approximately another 2 weeks. So if you're interested, like I said, you can make payments, Venmo or PayPal, but I will not send the link or the replay link until I receive that second payment. So if you want to make payments, you're more than welcome to. I'm open for that. And I'll send that over to you as soon as I receive the second payment. So thank you for receiving, Cindy, and you're more than welcome, Miss Louise. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am just holding each and every one of you in unconditional acceptance and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until we meet again, Adonai. Mm.